Coach in the South Plains College Texans, Coach Steve Green. Coach, Howard kind of tells us a lot of different tales as we went through that basketball game. A very slow start. And I don't know what your speech was in the locker room at halftime, but whatever it was, it turns into one of probably the most fantastic scoring halves I have seen in the least recent memory.
I doubt it was anything I had to say. It was more just pointing out some things that you know, if you prepare to play a certain way, you can probably expect to do that. And I think we had a really poor preparation for them. You know, they're a very good team, and we just got off to a kind of a lethargic start down there. I think we were down 15-2. Marshall went on a run and got us 8 points, and then got his second foul. So we struggle when we have him and Stanton Kidd on the bench, and I think they sit over there on the bench the majority of the first half. We were very lucky, I felt, to only be down 9. It seemed to me that Howard had a difficult time making some baskets that normally they would make at home, and that lead could have been a lot bigger than it really was. So even though we were down 31-22, I was really concerned about that if we come back out the second half and things kind of go just like it has been, and if they continue to control the tempo like they were, we were in for a long evening. But we got inspired. We got a couple of tough plays, offensive rebounds, and put it back in, and one thing kind of led to another, and I think these guys kind of fed off of that. And when we got the lead, I don't guess we ever gave it up again.
It certainly seems to me like a good sign as well. Bad news is you can start lethargically. Good news is you've got the ability to really turn a basketball game in a hurry. And when you took control of the tempo, it was your basketball game, seemed to me, like the rest of the way.
Well, I think, I think it was too. I don't know that, I guess you can say it's a good sign. It was a good sign in that particular game. I really don't want to do that again. Each game is different. You just you don't have any idea what's going to happen. And for the most part, you should be able to control what you're doing, but as I'm finding out, sometimes you can't even do that. So anyway, it was nice that we had to come back in. We've had 2 or 3 of those this year. I know we had one at Thanksgiving. I think we were playing Panola in Dallas, and we weren't doing exactly real well in the first half, and I think we were actually behind at half, and overturned that in real fast, I think so. But anyway, when you can score like we can, 50 points in a half is a lot, particularly against a very good team, and I think maybe the second best team to this point, definitely in this league and probably in this region. You have to look back and say, we did a few things good.
You look at the second game of the slate, and that was Western Texas, a whole different feel to this thing. You got a good hot start at home, and after you got this thing rolling, it never looked back. And frankly, you got a lot of points from a lot of different places throughout that contest.
Right. Yeah, they weren't quite ready for what hit them. I don't think they, they've gone through a tough season. First-year coach, and I think I counted their bodies. They only had 9 guys that they suited up and brought over here, and that's not really a formula for or a recipe for success. Against a team that's as hot as we are. We shoot extremely well, and when we're all hitting, it's pretty difficult to handle, and particularly at home. And when you've had the year that they've had, they're not winning any conference games to speak of. So it got out of hand, I think, from their standpoint. Pretty early in the game. I don't know, we were up 20 at half or 30 or whatever it was, and it was never close.
Alex Giroudier, I think, really becomes a story inside this thing. He's played minutes sparingly here and there, but he played a lot of time against Western, and frankly played a pretty complete basketball game, scored some hoops for you on the offensive end, looked fairly solid defensively as well.
Well, he and Anthony Walker both, I think they combined for 25 points at that position. So, you got your backup postmen getting 25 and 12 or 25 and 13. That's pretty remarkable. So, but once again, they didn't offer a lot of resistance. They didn't have a lot of size, and that's been something that has been their nemesis all season long. They just haven't had the manpower, I don't think, to go play against the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference.
Looking at another spot, your point guard spot, without Devontae Smith on the floor. We talk about the next run down, but we saw Corey Spence quite a little bit against Western, and a guy, again, who has not played a lot of consistent minutes, but didn't look to me like he had too bad a basketball.
No, I thought he played well. I was real pleased for him. You know, he's hung in there all season long. It's tough to to be on a team and not get to play, but he's been pretty resilient. You know, he comes to practice every day. He's a tough little guy, and he's determined to be a player, and I think it's going to pay off for him. I think we're going to see a little bit more of him.
We played a lot of people out of position last year. We've talked about that several times. But the depth of this basketball team, guys are in position now, but the depth at positions is really starting to show up. We talk a lot about the post, we talk a lot about the point guards, but frankly, at all 5 positions, this is a team that you can get a couple 3 deep out of.
Well, yeah, we can. I mean, we definitely have a first and a second group that are interchangeable, can all play. Now we have a couple of special players. I mean, make no mistake about it. You know, Yannick brings a dimension to our basketball team that nobody else has, and Marshall does as well. So, and when you put those 2 guys on the floor together, they sure attract a lot of attention, which makes it easier for other players. And I think that's a lot of why Stanton Kidd has had the season that he has. Greg Gainey's really beginning to find his position now. I mean, find his spot and what he can do. You know, when last year, we lined up and Stanton was the 4 and Greg Gainey was and I apologize for this, but he was the 5, at 6'4", 6'5", and they gave everything they had. But, anytime you turn around and drop step and try to score, you're still 6'5", and you're playing against guys that are 6'8". 3 inches doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't sound like much until you find yourself being towered over by those guys. And so, but this year with bigger post guys, they command the other team's big guy, and so that leaves these guys to do what they can do at their size.
We now get ready to go to Roswell. This is always a great trip to go over to New Mexico Military Institute, get packed into that little gym. It's a tough place to play over in Roswell against New Mexico Military Institute, and frankly kind of creates a new twist to basketball here going into this one.
Well, they've done well at home this year. They've played the top 2 or 3 schools, I think, to single digits at their place. I think they beat they beat Western and maybe Frank Phillips over there, and they got a good team. It's just a tough year in our league. The top 3 or 4 teams are very, very good this year, and so this is the year that New Mexico Military, I think, has got some players that can really play, and it's not going to be easy. We marched in there last year and watched all their cadets march in right after us, and we were fortunate to get out of there. And I expect, if it's mandatory cadet night tonight, I expect kind of a high-spirited place, I guess, so to speak. But it's a really nice place. I like the gym and what have you. It's and the crowd gets into it and what have you. It should be a fun evening.
Now, have you ever been to Roswell when it wasn't mandatory cadet night for the Texans?
Oh yeah.
But I got to think this may be one of the times they want to roll everybody out. Number 1 in the nation coming to town, unbeaten record, a chance to knock off somebody big. And we've talked a lot about this, these little traps that all of a sudden show up, and this certainly has the same makings.
Well, that's part of the responsibility that comes along with being, having the kind of season that we are. New Mexico Military is playing for one thing, and that's to beat the number 1 team in the country, ranking-wise. Tonight, after tonight's game, they're done. Their season is over. They didn't qualify for postseason play, so it'd be a nice way for them to go out. I'm sure it's the sophomore evening for them as well, like it was for us the other night. And those guys can, from whatever happens tonight, that's going to be their last game in junior college. So I'm sure they'd like to make it a memorable one.
Now, of course, we've got Roswell first, got to go to New Mexico Military, but then on to the tournament. I know you had a chance to get out and scout a little bit last night. What did you see on the north side of this thing? What's it look like coming into the region?
Well, we're going to open with Temple. It seems like we do every other year in the region tournament. But Temple, by beating Weatherford last night, earned the 4th spot. So the brackets are set up. I don't know the exact times. I think we play at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Excuse me. But So we'll play Temple. I think Howard plays Weatherford. Odessa will play, let's see, they play Ranger, and McLennan plays New Mexico. Us and McLennan, New Mexico, and Temple are on the same side of the bracket. I know that didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I danced all the way around that.
That's all right.
But should we win, we would play the winner of the McLennan, New Mexico game on Saturday, maybe afternoon. I
believe
think.
that. I believe that's
so.
right. Saturday
Yeah.
evening. I tell you what, it'll be an interesting field. It seemed to me like that North thing. We talked about how good this bracket was with yourselves, New Mexico Junior College, and how tight things were. The other side looked to me like there were a lot of things that didn't get decided until last night. It was kind of just sit there and wait on the edge of your chair to figure out what happened next.
Well, that game last night, if Temple wins, then we've earned the right to play them, and or vice versa, I guess. Colin defeated the #1 team on their side last night and needed Temple to lose at home the final game, so they would have earned that 4th spot. But Colin won, but Temple spoiled their party for him. So anyway, I think it'll be a good tournament. It should be interesting. There's a lot of good teams in it, as there usually is, and hopefully we'll be here for the long haul.
All right, final thoughts before we get ready to take on New Mexico Military Institute tonight.
Well, this is it for us. This is our goal is to at this point is to close out the season 29-0, the regular season. It's never been done before, and it's kind of what we've been talking about for the last couple of games. After we won the conference down in Big Spring, we decided at that point then this needs to be a goal, and it's one that we can attain. So we'll see how we respond tonight over in Roswell.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time as always. Thanks for dropping by. I'll see you after the ballgame.
Okay.